Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, the only Wildbow web serial shorter than the Bible, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Void chapters 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know whether Charles ever does anything to actually help Kenneth, and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there will be full spoilers through the chapters we are covering.
All right, before we get started, just to remind everyone, Pale Conflections, our fan art contest. Entries are due April 1st. Theme is Takeover, and you can do any Wildbow story.
Woo!
Woohoo! And really, you can be creative with whatever kind of art you want to make. So
yeah,
just go crazy with it.
Yeah,
we've had a couple
excited to see what y'all get.
Yes, we've had a few entries already. And as a reminder, if you want to vote, you have to be a Patreon. So if you want to decide who the very best artist is and who wins some cash money,
woo,
then become a Patreon.
Indeed.
All right. So this is our summary, which is kind of a long summary, but it is 3 chapters. Badly hurt by Isadora's attack, Blake tries and fails to attack her with the hyena. Conquest is called, and Blake agrees to heal for 3 days before their final battle. Blake wakes up, finding that his friends end up spending a lot of blood to heal him, so they're kind of passed out. He finds out that Phil died. Rose fills him in with what's happening in the city. They end up going to meet up with Maggie, who's guarding Laird's location, and they end up finding Laird with his implement in hand, and he ends up escaping, which Blake is weirdly optimistic about. They go out into the street. They see Duncan's fiance stuck in the snow. They help her out, and she ends up inviting them up for hot cocoa. Duncan is alerted via rune when they enter the house, and he ends up calling Laird for backup. Blake is correct about how chronomancy works and is able to defeat Duncan. He ends up looking outside at the end of all this and sees Conquest standing over Rose's summonings. What do you think of these chapters, Malia?
It's a lot. It was a lot. It's nice knowing about Laird and chronomancy, I guess. It feels like we're moving things along, but also they meet Conquest twice in 3 chapters, and I don't know. I don't know. It could be about to end, and it could just keep going.
That's right. You haven't looked ahead to see how many arcs there are, have you?
I know there's like 16, I think.
Okay. Well.
But I don't know what any of the other ones are called and stuff. By end, I mean like us being in Toronto ending.
Conquest you don't think that the other arcs are just like blank, like that one chapter was?
That would be mean. And weird.
Like you try to click on all of them
totally
and nothing loads. All right. Well, we'll dive into this then. Blake is badly hurt by Isadora. He apologizes to Evan for being unable to keep his promises. And I have to say, Malia, last week you kept saying it can't be like his actual ribs.
Okay, well, it said she laid his ribs bare, and I think she like maybe touches one of them with a claw, which is not the same.
I mean, you can't get any more bare than like through the skin, you could argue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the spirit of my thing was that I didn't think she had necessarily clawed him to death, but it seems like she pretty much kind of did, or like tried.
He wasn't dead, so she didn't claw him to death.
She didn't eat him.
Yeah,
but
it's very nice, I guess.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think she really helped out. Which I don't honestly think is that hot of a take, but maybe it is.
I mean, for Blake's luck, that was pretty good, right?
Yeah, no, like they were all about to die horribly. Like,
yeah, he basically
should at the right moment.
Yeah, he basically should just send her a thank you card.
I mean, he doesn't have to thank her, but it was convenient.
It was convenient.
Yeah, also Blake's like, I've been stabbed before, and then just immediately moves on, and I'm like, are we ever gonna learn about this? Like,
There's just so many little things where it's like, oh yes,
Yeah. I mean,
moving on.
I can understand not wanting to dwell on it, you know?
Sure. But a lot of the stories, I feel like people need to stop and be like, wait, let's talk about this. And this isn't necessarily one of those things.
I mean,
But, you know,
it's
there's like three
kind
things
of a
in these
bad
chapters where I'm
time.
like, God damn it.
I feel like right now, in particular, it's not like a good time to reminisce on like, you know,
Being
get
stabbed.
into, you know, therapy stuff when his like ribs are hanging out.
They're not hanging out.
I mean, I know they're not literally hanging out, but they're like his skin's like loose.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like I mean, I don't think anyone could argue that's not like a great time to start talking about the past.
Sure. So I did want to talk to you about Blake's medical situation at this moment and like what
How fucked he is.
yeah, so like none of his organs are stabbed. It seems like there's like a severe risk of infection and blood loss.
Yeah.
And that is that the main thing?
Yeah.
So he just has to get like patched up.
I mean,
not infected.
Like, yeah, I mean, kind of amazing if like she didn't actually like perforate any organs, internal organs, that you would want to look for in particular, to see if like, yeah, any like if you have like intestinal perforation in particular, that like is really, really increases your risk of sepsis there. But yeah, like, I mean, depending on how, I mean, that or like punctured lung, you'd want to see like if he has any like arterial bleeding, which it didn't seem like it because otherwise he'd be dead like a lot quicker.
Mhm.
So he was pretty fucking lucky. He was really lucky. But your ribs are kind of there to help protect your body or your internal organs anyway, so I guess they did their
Mhm.
job. And seems like for what she could have done, it actually is a pretty shallow like tearing, you know, because she probably could just like straight up clawed like so far through. I'm gonna be honest, I'd have to reread that a little bit closer because it's been a couple days since I read that chapter. Which I probably shouldn't be admitting since we're doing a podcast right now. But
Me and say it's been a couple of years. You said days. Like that's fine.
That's true. Yeah, it's been a few years, but I'm just gonna go off my brain on that. But yeah, like blood loss and infection's a very secondary thing. Like your main thing's gonna be blood loss, and if you have any, if any of the other organs are damaged, I would definitely be looking for like collapsed lung, and any cardiac things right there. And then also like if you have internal bleeding, like if you're third spacing or having blood fill up your lung or around your lung, it basically can you can have like something called a hemothorax, and that's where like kind of similar to a pneumothorax, which you're probably not going to have a clue what that is. But you also could get a pneumothorax. Basically, pneumothorax is when you have air that is around your lung. And a lot of times that's caused from your lung being punctured because obviously you have air in your lung. So the air in your lung is going to leak into the space around your lung. Why that's bad is because the more air that's around your lung, the harder it is for your chest to actually, like for your lung to expand. So the more air you get around your lung, the more, like the less it will actually expand, the less you can breathe. And that's what we call like a collapsed lung. Like that can cause a collapsed lung. Okay. So that's one of the big like risks and traumas. And that's like one of the things you can do is something, called like a needle decompression, where you actually like stick a needle into the chest to try to like drain the air out basically and give that lung more room to expand. Or if you have like a big wound in your chest, that's why like if you learn if you take some like kind of more advanced first aid courses, they say to like put a dressing over that, but tape it on 3 sides. And the 4th side is to let the air out. So it kind of like burps the air out. Hemothorax is kind of similar, but with blood. So if you're bleeding, have blood surrounding that area, and making it so that there's too much pressure for the lung to expand. There's a lot of different injuries you can get.
Yeah.
But he was really lucky. Seems like he was really fucking lucky, and he just had a lot of blood loss. But he was fine.
Yeah.
Just some wax and some of his
And
friends
some-
bleeding out for him. He's
And
fucking
goblin magic or
and
something.
Goblin magic. He was. I mean, frankly, he's lucky it's not plugged up with mucus. So he's
Oh, yeah.
doing great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if what Maggie knows is like a goblin thing or if it's a fae thing or like what. Because it's useful that she knows this, but also like I'm picturing Ram Jam and just like stabbing nails into stuff. Like this doesn't seem like that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like she has a little bit more knowledge, like picked up from different things here and there. So
Mm-hmm.
could be like even a non-goblin thing she's picked up somewhere. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. So Ty is like, I want to help Blake, and like that's nice, but also your other friend's dying, and there's another person dying, but I mean, I guess Blake is gonna keep getting attacked. So this is actually really nice. And they're all like, let's help Blake, and she's like, nah, I'll kill you too. And it's like, well, maybe go save Alexis. And or Fel. And she's like, I don't think Maggie's gonna help or do shit. And I was like, Maggie, why won't you fucking help? Is this like the blood and darkness or whatever thing? Like, is it just like, ha ha ha, if they die, it's better for making that happen or whatever? Like, I just hate it. I'm sad that Fel's dead. Like, I wasn't actually as sad as I thought I'd be. I think because it hasn't settled in yet. It was just like, suddenly Fel is shot through the collarbone and we just like never fucking see him again, and that sucks, and I'm sad. And he's been captured and his soul by the shepherd, which sucks.
That sucks.
It's
That
just a real bummer all around.
Mm-hmm.
And Isadora's like, oh, I hope you're not counting Fel among like decent people. I'm like, fuck you.
Like says the woman who just like raked a guy through the chest.
Right. I'm like,
Thanks.
Fel, like, he's actually pretty great. It seems he's like a good uncle. He's trying his best. He's just also like forced by his birth right to work for this dude. Like, he is not morally culpable for the shit that he does almost ever. So
it's kind of random, but just because I'm not going to list every single like medical thing that there could be with like getting raked through the chest, because there's too many fucking things that there could be. But it just popped in my head and it won't like leave me alone. So I'm just going to say cardiac tamponade, which is like fluid buildup around the heart.
Oh, that's bad.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. So y'all can Google stuff. Because otherwise I'm going to, you know me, I get on tangents about things that are probably not as interesting to everyone else as it is to me. So I'm going to stop talking about that for now.
You never know. I mean, yeah, Wildbow like describes these injuries really well, very viscerally, very like I could. It just made me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's pretty jacked. So it's pretty jacked up.
Also, Maggie answered a Sphinx question and she's not dead, which makes me confused as fuck. Did you notice that?
I forgot which one it was, to be honest. No.
So she said something. Oh God. Like, you dare to challenge me, a Sphinx or some shit. And Maggie's like, well, as far as I can tell, you're not much of a Sphinx. And nothing happened to her. But it was a question. It ended with a question mark. And we all moved on.
But
maybe, like, is she not a Sphinx? Has everyone not been answering her questions for nothing? Oh, she says, are you such an expert on Sphinxes, stranger? And then Maggie says, as far as I can tell, you aren't much of a Sphinx.
Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe she's secretly not a Sphinx.
And she's not dead. I don't get it. Feels like a something.
It could be something.
But also Blake's not fully, whatever. He can't fully pay attention to things that are going on.
Understandably.
Yeah. But no, I think that this actually like really helped and came in super clutch, right? Because like Blake was like, we were doing fine, and then Isadora showed up. And I'm like, that's not accurate. You were doing okay. And then, you know, Orion or whoever the fuck showed up. And then you were all about to die horribly. I mean, not even just like quickly, succinctly.
True.
Like one of them does die. And the thing that seems to prevent the guy from shooting all of them is Isadora. You know, like this was clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's all the weird like coup claim stuff that is confusing about, you know, who's giving up more power and more face in whatever situations and blah blah blah. But yeah, we will get into that in a second, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Blake apologizing to Evan was really, really heartbreaking and sad and sweet, but it's just like, yeah, like I wanted to stop more bad things. I'm sorry we didn't. It was just like,
I know.
And Evan's like, no, it's literally fine. Everything is fine. And then he's like Evan is able to give Blake tenacity, like the thing that he had that helped him survive in the forest for so long, and that helped him survive the hyena after dying for so long. And it's so cool and awesome, and Evan is such a good familiar, and like this is so much of what Blake needs, and it's sweet that like he doesn't even know what he's doing or how he's doing it, and I don't know, it's almost like Evan inspires Blake or something, and it's really cute.
That's really cute. That's sweet.
Yeah. And then there's a moment of like Blake still has the goddamn locket. He still has the empty locket on his hand that might have like some bit of residue left, and I'm just like, what? The amount of that locket can't possibly hurt you enough if someone else takes it for this to be worth it. It's so dumb. Oh, I'm so mad. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing, I don't know. Blake's gonna Blake. Well, with Evan's help, Blake basically gathers like a meager amount of strength that's just enough to try to drag himself over, like with the hyena, and he somehow thinks he's gonna attack Isadora successfully.
It's so good.
Of course it fails, because of course it does. And then Isadora ends up calling Conquest to deal, because basically, if Conquest were to try to like defeat Blake right now, it would just be like too unfair. And so Conquest ends up making a deal with Blake to let him heal.
Yeah, this feels like that thing with the fairy in like arc 1, 2, whatever that was. 2.
Mm-hmm. 2, I think.
With, like the fairy was already defeated, so you'd have to defeat them even more. So like Blake has been conquered in this moment. And so like killing Blake wouldn't really be Conquest conquering him or whatever. Yeah. And this was an interesting thing because like she seemed to basically say like, no, like I'm still going to be involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It feels to me like she actually likes Blake and doesn't like Conquest, but she's very into quote unquote balance. But then also like this helped him, and I don't really get. Is it like she needed to save face for Blake upsetting the balance, so she needed to fuck with him, and then something? Like I don't fully get why she gets involved other than like her honor or something. Like if everyone's like, oh yeah, Isadora hates it when the balance is upset, and this person obviously upset the balance, and then she just fucking sat there, like maybe that would hurt her scariness. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm going back to this, and I really should have prepared that you were going to ask me a question about medical stuff, and I didn't think about it. But like, did it say what direction like the claw was from? Like if it was from like right to left, or like if it was across the hole, or
yeah. So at one point, eventually, it says like top of left shoulder. Like there was one of the cuts was like left shoulder to like right nipple. So I think she swiped with her right hand.
Okay.
That.
Okay.
So it seemed possibly pretty high up, which was another thing. Maybe that would help, helped with the intestines and crap.
That definitely helps with the intestines. What it makes it a lot closer to like your esophagus. So he got fucking lucky. There's a lot of fucking blood vessels as well. Like a lot. But also thinking like, I mean, if it was a little bit lower, I mean, it must have just been really shallow. Except that it can't be that shallow because his skin was loose. So for having bad karma, he was really lucky. But I was like, I would be expecting a splenic lack or a liver lack. And your liver in particular, is really vascular. So you'd be bleeding like a motherfucker. I mean, but that's besides the fact that getting raked across the chest is going to make you bleed like a motherfucker as well. Because your liver would... Yeah, I'm just... Okay, I'm going to stop. I should have thought about this more, and then I would have had a more coherent answer, but I don't know why I didn't think about the medical side of that.
This makes me This makes me want to go and look at the like soul and self extra materials in Pale, where you learn about like the 7 different parts of the body and like, you know, being gouged through the chest. How fucked is Blake? I want to do that. Really.
That's kind of interesting.
So if you have another thing you think he could have been fucked by, you have the time to enlighten us.
There's so many things, though. That's the thing. There's so many things. Like, if it could have gouged, like, his trachea, and so he couldn't breathe, and so you'd have to either do, like, you'd have to probably do, like, you can't even do, like, a tracheotomy, I don't think, or tracheostomy. What was it? A crike. You have to do a crike.
What? It sounds Australian.
I'm trying to, like, how do you pronounce that? That's embarrassing, but I haven't done a crike. I almost saw one. How do you spell that?
Crikey.
Yeah, crikey. No, not craniotomy. I'm not making this crap up. It's a real thing. I really should just have you. Is that what it is? Cricothyroidotomy? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's basically like just in a different part of like your throat, because like a tracheostomy, you make a surgical hole like in your trachea, basically.
So
anyway,
where's the other one?
Cricothyrotomy, which is why we call it a crike, because it's like bless you. They're just like a bit different spots. That's all.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, but tracheostomy is better if you can do it. Crike is emergent. And I think a crike is supposed to be like more short term, where like a trach that tends to be more long term. So you can place that a little more carefully. While a crike, you're like, just this guy needs an airway. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you can feel free to cut that all out, because I feel like I'm just like rambling and it's not making a lot of sense.
We'll see how it sounds. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I found the extra material. So based on this, it seems like there's 2 to 4 places he could have been affected. So the 2 he was like probably definitely affected are the heart and the solar plexus. So I mean, this is also about like storing power and like different stuff that I don't fully understand, because I don't fully understand this shit. But just to talk about the symbolic meanings of these areas of Blake's body, because why not? So
Why not?
The heart, like the upper chest kind of, is physicality, health, healing. Also maybe like a connection. So like you can have connections rooted in all of the different spots, but like a good connection, like happy, good for you connections and wellness is connected to your heart. So that would be bad if that was damaged. Maybe his ribs saved him. There's the solar plexus, which is absorption. The processing and digestion of outside influences, deeper knowledge, and like wisdom. So he could use some wisdom.
Yeah.
Like, and then the other 2 that are like maybes are the throat and the sacrum, just depending on where the mauling occurred. So the throat is connections, lots of social connections, because of like your word, your breath, your communication. It has to do with society. That's another thing Blake really needs. So another thing he's also sort of slowly losing-ish as his friends are dropping like flies.
Yeah. That's sad.
And then the sacrum, which is wantings. The fuel that drives us. Maybe where power in general sits when we're done digesting it.
The sacrum.
Mm-hmm.
That seems kind of low, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just was like I wanted to hit the very top possible and the very bottom possible.
That's like pelvic.
Yeah, okay. She probably didn't hit the sacrum.
Hopefully not, at least. That's like pretty fucking, yeah, at least that's like very low. Yeah. So like if he were to have come into the emergency room, he'd be bleeding out, because I mean, let's be real, he'd be bleeding out. So we would immediately like get some kind of IV access. If we couldn't do IV access, we would do IO, which is intraosseous, which is a temporary thing where you basically drill through usually like the shin bone, and you actually can put fluids through there. You'd be giving a lot of fluids. You'd be giving emergent blood. We would probably bring him down to get a CT done to see like what organs are affected, and we'd be trying to get him into for emergent surgery, and we'd be trying to probably intubate in order to preserve the airway, especially if he's like, and if he does have trauma to like the throat, we might have to do a crike, but we'd still probably be trying to intubate and then sedate to get him like as comfortable as possible. I mean, because you're not going to be comfortable, obviously. Probably is going into shock. So yeah, lots of fluids, lots of blood, different medications for sedating, and get him into an OR as soon as possible. And try to stabilize as much as we can. I've seen some pretty bad bloody codes before, but I don't think I have seen one with like ripped open chest like that. So that's good. Yeah. Again, I haven't been working in the emergency room for about 3 to 3.5 years, so take that with a grain of salt, but I think that's probably somewhat accurate at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure. All right. Now.
But yeah, so we get the sense that Rose knows that she will take Blake's place, that she won't die if Blake dies, / when Blake dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is just the time I've decided. Blake needs to talk to Rose about this. This really comes up later, so obviously he doesn't need to talk to Rose in this moment. But later we learned that Rose was made heir at the grandma's death, not Molly, and that seems super important. Also, like it. I mean, I know Blake, or like to Rose has existed her whole life, right? Like she has memories that go back to when she was a child or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like the moment that Rose actually came into being is important. And it seems like Rose has in some way existed for longer than we thought. / she would still have memories of the months after, while Molly was, heir. But we didn't think that Rose was the heir in her own timeline. We thought that she became the heir when Blake did. I think is like what I assumed, what the reader assumed, what Blake assumed. And so Rose had 4 months as the heir learning all this shit, unless it just weirdly time skipped in her brain and memories from bam, you're appointed to bam, you're telling Blake to wake up. But it seems like Rose knows a lot more about her purpose and shit. I don't know why she would have. I mean, maybe she actually didn't awaken in that ceremony. Here's some like deep tinfoily shit. Maybe she had already done the awakening ceremony, which is why nothing moved around when she did it again. But she had to like pretend that she didn't know all the stuff that was going on, so that Blake wasn't sus. I don't know. It just, so I remember her sort of saying like the lawyer was in the house and was like, Molly said, go get Blake. But God, we need this conversation. And Blake's like, I don't want to be like Rose. Like, I don't want to be a dick about things after having been out of it for a bit. And it's like, this isn't the same. You need to talk about this. This isn't about things that happened while you were passed out that you're like impatient about understanding. This is something that Rose has been keeping from you for a week and a half, aka her entire existence, possibly, or only a very short time in her entire existence because she's existed for months. I don't want to be sus of Rose because I do like her, but this is sus.
Sure.
I also don't know if I'm using the word sus accurately grammatically all the time, so Gen Z, if you would help me out.
I'm going to be honest. I don't really know if like it's accurate to say that there is a grammatically accurate way to say sus. But I think you're using it fine.
Okay.
Because I mean, yeah.
Because I know if you are sus, that means you're suspicious, but I don't know if you can be sus of someone, like be suspicious of someone.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that used before, and I think it's a new enough term that like you can say whatever you want.
Well, it's interesting in general that like I'm suspicious and I'm suspicious of have the opposite meaning because they just, I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, so those are some of my feelings about that. And then we get back to like squeaky body horror from like one is the skin like being loose on his chest and the blood not actually being that warm to holding a huge, heavy, ridiculous sword with your hand that has a bunch of spikes, such that the blood from your hand is filling up your glove and it's squishy, and I want to die.
Like, oh, thanks, Blake. Oh, that's fucking delightful.
Ah!
I mean, yeah. It's like I normally don't mind the word squishy, but in that context, it's not great.
I mind it.
Like it's like you're bleeding that much. Ugh.
Yeah, I hate it. It's also interesting that like so Fel and Blake are expendable because there's people waiting to take their place. And I don't know, like it's like there's a woman and a girl waiting to take their place. Like I don't know if that's interesting or significant in any way. But it seems kind of interesting. Like they seem very like foils of each other. I really hope that the niece doesn't take his place. Yeah. And I hope that Blake and Rose are fine. I don't know. God, and then fucking Rose. And then she's talking to Isadora, and I think she's trying to stop her from killing Blake, in her own way. But when he's like, "Oh, your friends are dying," or whatever she says, Isadora says, and then Rose is like, "They're not my friends, they're Blake's." I'm like, oh my god.
Like, fuck off.
Like, if that was an attempt to gainsay, like, maybe that, whatever, but also, like, they could be your friends if you were just, like, talk to them or whatever. God damn it. Like, it's so, I mean, she's very much like Grandma Rose in a lot of ways, and it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just a, like, oh my god, Rose.
Like, damn, that's cold.
It's not the time. And like saying shit like that ensures that they're not going to be your friends.
Yeah.
Because like,
at least if they hear her, maybe they'll be too like out of it with blood loss.
Well, Tiff and Ty are fine as far as we know. Yeah, but then so just how Rose is melodramatic about that, Blake becomes melodramatic when he's like, Tiffany is upset because Isadora just stopped Blake from hurting her hilariously and like pushed him down or whatever. And Tiff is going to go to Blake, and Ty's like, no, like he'd want you to help Alexis. Like, don't get yourself killed, Tiffany. Let's save a friend. And then, so when Ty stops Tiff from going over to help, Blake's like, the only person who stood by me here was Evan. And I'm like, bitch! But they're all standing by you. They
like
just,
you're being
don't want to die for no reason. They're all here for you. They're all super fucking here for you.
They all fucking awoke for you.
Right.
Like
they haven't left.
Yeah.
They're still here. Like, what?
You're like with demons and shit. And they didn't back up slowly and were like, we're gonna get away from this guy. They're all standing by you.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, just to throw him a bone. I mean, like, I can get wanting to feel sorry for yourself while like you're bleeding out.
You're dying horribly.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. I mean,
it just sounds like he feels almost betrayed, and he shouldn't at all.
No, he shouldn't. Like, you're gonna be fucking well. Okay, you don't know you're gonna be fine. Actually, in fact, it looks like you're really not gonna be fine. But
you're gonna be fine.
They're trying.
Yeah. But it's funny. It feels like there's like, I like that it's Conquest and Rose and Isadora all talking at the end, because they sort of feel like they're on another level from most of the other characters in this situation. Like obviously Ty, Tiffany, and Alexis don't know what's happening, and then Blake, but Blake's just much more like, I'm a big hammer, I'm gonna like smack things. Fel is dead, but is also like a servant. Maggie's like a little wild pixie girl. And like Rose manages to solve the situation by being like, Isadora, it would be ignoble to let him die. He tried. Like what the fuck? Like, and Isadora's like, yeah, you're right. Like that really works on me. Like, it would be ignoble of me to do this is fucking obnoxious, and I love it a lot.
Do you think Maggie would get mad to hear you call her a little pixie girl?
I mean, it's accurate.
I just think it's kind of funny that you're calling a goblin queen a pixie girl.
She doesn't like goblins.
No, I mean, that's true, but I'm just like...
And she deals with fairies. I mean, I don't really mean, like, in terms of fae, but just in terms of, like, there's some thing inside of her or something.
All right, well, we'll get to that later, because I think you're probably talking about a future thing, so, all right.
Yeah, so, Fel's dead, and I'm sad. And Conquest is like, hey, you want to be my servant? Like, he needs a replacement for Fel. And also a demon person. I was really, like, I didn't think Blake was gonna agree in this moment when he's like, I looked up at Conquest, but I was just, like, so nervous. Like, what if he accidentally blinked? Like, what if he just sort of, like, winced? Like, what if, like, something got in his eye? Like, what if...
I know!
It was so awful.
I was thinking that too. I was like, that's the time that you're gonna get some shit in your eye, or you're gonna, like, need to, I don't know, sneeze and your eye will blink or something. I was like, that's a terrible idea. Like, just shake your head. Like, if anything, just keep your eyes shut and just shake your head, because you can't blink if your eyes are closed already.
Yeah. I do think this got him some cred or whatever with the spirits, though, for, like, pulling it off. And, like, the spirits,
True.
I think, in a way, would, like, want to help this. Like, is Blake lucky? Was it karma? Was it Isadora, like, not actually wanting to kill him? Is it just a better story if Blake lives?
It's more entertaining,
yes,
probably.
but...
Yeah. That's probably... The spirits are like, all right, let's keep it going.
Let's
get some popcorn.
Yeah, so he gets 3 days. Like, Jesus? He,
or
like,
just 3.
Almost dies and rises again after 3 days. I wasn't like, 3 is a very packed number, but it's also a biblical number, and I wasn't sure if it was, like, supposed to be a Jesus reference.
I don't know. I mean, I hadn't thought of it like that. But maybe. I mean, he didn't exactly die, but he was really fucking close.
Right.
As Scott always says, it's both.
Themes or something. It's
Themes,
like fun being on the Doofcast, but I also just feel very overwhelmed because I'm like, this thing that happened was funny, and they're like, oh yes, the themes. This is what the author is trying to say. These are the things that are... This is how this character is acting in accordance with the themes, and I'm like, it was funny.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's funny how, like, he ordered, like, pizza that way, and they're like, yes, it's talking about his dead mother and, you know, the trauma. I'm like, what? It's the themes. I'm like, well,
you know, he's trapped alone in the house, and he's disconnected from society, and even the society that tries to bring him sustenance is...
Oh fuck! It's society. It's the society. Oh my gosh! We live in a society, Malia. We live in a society.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought I was, like, gonna be able to do what Scott did with Worm and pick out themes and then, like, do good predictions, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's hard with, like, law school and stuff, and he's really good at all that.
They're both really good at it, yeah.
They're both really good at it. But it's okay, Malia, because we are not a copycat podcast, and they would not have asked us on their team if they just wanted another copycat podcast. We are our own thing. We're our own beast. We don't have to be insightful. We can just be weird and silly, and it's still endearing.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of speaking of, you should get on the Doofcast, Jen, and flex your theme muscles.
Yeah. You think you have poor theme muscles? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'd be entertaining. I mean, if I actually tried, I'd probably do better than now. That doesn't sound very good, does it? I mean,
I
yeah,
mean, you're not supposed to be the one figuring this story out. You're just supposed to, like, steer me.
I feel like this is not a very favorable way to paint myself, but I'm just going to say it. I kind of feel like, in terms of, like, the two of us, I'm that partner in the group project that is just fucking coasting, you know? Like, you're doing all the fucking work. I get to just kind of sit by, and I'm like, I'm going to write the summaries, Malia. I'm going to find my fun fact. And you do all the hard work, and I still get some credit. Right? So that's me.
Yeah. Well, me just, like, rambling about this by myself wouldn't be as fun.
That's true. Dual rambling helps. Definitely. At least I'm assuming. So, yeah, it is fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely that person in the group project right now. So,
yeah, but you also did the reading, like, way, way ahead.
I did. Yeah. And I'm not looking into it as like insightfully because I'm kind of just like, that's Malia's job. She can do it. That's
fair.
That's terrible. But look, I mean, this is where we are. Okay. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. So it's fine.
It's fine. Maybe at the very end of the whole show, we can have Scott and Matt on to explain the themes back to us.
True. Either that or Ruben and Elliot, since like
that's true.
That kind of makes more sense since they like probably know the story a little bit more in depthly since they've really looked at that like inside out like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We could be like, all right, give us a grade like in our group project. What would you rate us in terms of our understanding? And they're going to be like, B- for effort.
I think we get a B+.
Okay, maybe B. Well, okay, I said us both. That's our average. That's our average. You have a higher score than me. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
about that.
Anyway.
All right. So Blake has a fever dream. Basically, I mean, he probably doesn't have a fever, but he has a fucking shock-induced, like, weird-ass dream, and he sees Miss Lewis, and he sees, like, some happy stuff, basically Evan having fun being the happy stuff. And then he ends up waking up to Rose and James Corfiday.
I realized I meant to Google dream meaning for bridge.
Dream meaning for bridge.
So he's in a dream thingy, and there's this unfinished bridge, and he's on it. And I guess it's like his future is not yet determined. It also made me think of Jacob's Bell and how they want to get the house out of the way so they can like expand. And maybe Hillsglade House has
I just Googled it, and according to psychicblaze.com, bridges symbolize transition because it allows us to transfer from one place to another. So it usually means there'll be a transition in your life. I'm also going to go to antiflow.com just because that kind of makes me laugh.
Cool.
And let's see. Also, often representations of connection, stability, and progress. A bridge is a spiritual message that it is time to review your life. I think Blake should just get that. I think he just should review his life.
Holy fuck,
there was...
yeah.
It's normally used to link two situations or there's a need to cross over to the other side. So a bridge in a broad sense indicates someone needs to overcome an obstacle. And there's a lot of crap. But basically everything I just said. That's it. Thank you, Anti-Flow.
Yeah, I'm also seeing I got one. Because I was seeing a lot about bridges like breaking, but not a lot about building bridges. So this is really good. Okay. To dream about either yourself or others building a bridge suggests that you are going to experience some difficulties soon. This is because you have taken on too much, probably in both your home and your work lives.
All right. Well, I gotta say this dream is a little late. I'm like, way to tell us something we didn't already know.
Yeah.
But
unable to cross a bridge or that it is blocked. This dream is very much connected to romantic relationships. You're going to enter a new romantic relationship, but you are going to be disappointed. Perhaps you've been attracted to this person for a long time, but that doesn't mean you know what he or she is really like. This dream is a warning.
You better have a bold and specific prediction about that. You've got the whole podcast to come up with it. I want to see who Blake's romantic issues are going to be with.
All right, we'll figure it out.
All right.
Well, yeah, so Evan having fun is fun. It's just the whole Blake. Well, okay, in this dream, Blake literally is like, this is why I can never see myself actually having a partner and being with someone because I'm never comfortable unless I'm alone and with Evan. But Evan is like kind of an extension of him from the familiar whatever-ish.
True.
Thingy. I don't know. The branches and birds doubling in numbers seem like a good sign. That seemed like stronger, more Blakey Blake, with his tattoos.
Okay.
That felt like you're wrong, but okay.
No, I didn't say that. I said okay.
Okay. And then Ms. Lewis. She's great. I don't know how she got here. I guess we already know about mares. So we already know about people being able to get into dreams.
Okay.
So maybe something like that. They have demon powers. I don't know. This is probably like not that big of a deal. And I didn't think about Blake calling the lawyers in the last chapter. I think once he like didn't call them the first time he went to Conquest, and then he didn't call them when he did the game or what, did the contest.
Yeah.
I just sort of gave up on the whole calling the lawyers during this thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, part of it is probably also that we had a big break for your maternity leave, because part of me was like, oh yeah, these guys. But yeah, there's the interesting, like, they will become a threat to Blake if they start to think that he's never going to like join them or whatever, that he like is completely resisting them. They'll like be like, well, maybe Rose will fucking turn to the dark side. So they're kind of like, we'll kill you and or let you be killed or something if you don't start asking us for help.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
What?
Huh?
Was the uh-oh just in terms of Blake's situation?
Yes.
Okay. I was worried it was a technical uh-oh.
No.
Okay. And then I think, it was interesting that they're in the hope part of Blake's brain. And it was kind of nice. God, and then opening his eyes and being like, and there's Rose, and there's Corvidae. Like, oh my god. It does suck that Blake was like, not that one. And Rose was like, yes, that one. Because she found like the sludge monster and shit. And it seems like she could have still not done this horrible thing.
Yeah, but
it also sucks that seeing Rose in the mirror is not comforting. Like, I guess Blake just has other people around him that are more positive, and Rose and, like Maggie would also be kind of like, nah. But like, it sucks that it's not like, oh, Rose. It's like, oh, Rose.
Yeah, that does suck. All right. Well, Blake ends up seeing his friends kind of passed out around him, finds that they gave a lot of blood in order to help heal him up. His wounds are plugged up with wax, courtesy of Maggie. Blake also finds out that Fell is dead, and Rose fills him in on the city status. Thank you for adding that background line. That helped sell the dire situation.
Here's the thing. Like, no one gave a fuck that Dickswizzle died, and people only give slightly more of a fuck that Fell died. I have to be the grieving presence in this story because none of these characters fucking care. Like, oh, he was an asshole, but I mean, I kind of liked him. Like, I think Blake's sad. No one else seems sad. I'm upset. I'm sad. Like, he died off screen in an unsatisfying way, but I'm gonna make myself feel the feelings that I felt when I was sad, and also I think predicted he was gonna die, and I'm sad.
That is your right.
Yes.
It is sad that Fell. I knew that was going to make you irritated, and I'm not sorry.
It was right there all along. It was right in front of us the whole time.
It was such obvious, like,
so obvious.
Subtext. There you go. You think we can't read into themes, into subtext? There you go. Fell. It's that's like foreshadowing 101.
Oh god.
Although you could also argue that we didn't see that. And so that makes us really, really bad at interpreting it. So
yeah, I'm a little bummed that we never found out why, or maybe we will, but we haven't found out why he goes by Fell and not Malcolm.
I mean, he might just like that. Maybe he tripped a lot as a child and that was his nickname. And
nope.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's silly. His name's Fell.
Yeah, I'm glad that Alexis, Tiffany, and Ty are okay. It sucks that Alexis keeps getting hurt. I was remembering the heart attack demon, not demon, Echo, and now the astrologer. And I'm wondering if the first one felt like a coincidence, and this one almost feels like, do they know? I mean, maybe they can see Blake likes that one. Let's kill it. But that sucks. um, like I don't want any of them to get hurt, but it's
Like, what a diss to his
interesting
other friends, right?
that
Like, Alexis is the one that keeps getting,
oh my god. Oh, it hurt. Pain. Yep. But I mean it's kind of not like we're kind of narrowing down because it's I think good that his friends are sort of out of commission currently. They kind of, they need a break.
Sure.
And it sucks that break is bleeding themselves out so that Blake can heal. And it's really nice that they're doing this. I just hate this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Talisman is like really growing on me. The wax at first, I was like, oh my god, I hate this. It's disgusting. Like, but also I was like, it's kind of useful and like cool. And I don't know, later he like helps push the car. He's just like all around solid guy. He's like, oh, you're afraid it's dark. Let me light some candles. And like, oh yeah, Blake, let me get you some wax. I mean, he was probably like ordered or whatever, but it was still nice. It was nice.
Yeah, he's like straight up like wholesome tallow man.
Yeah. No, like if this was Pale, we'd be like talking about how the tallow man needs to like, recognize that he has blood on his hands and like, make steps to change and become a better person. But also about how fucking great he is. He's so cool.
He's
like,
pretty great.
I love him. He wears like, he's all bundled up in the snow and the cold, and he just he's so good. But yeah, Evan sleeping is kind of cute. It sucks later when it's like, did you tell Evan to go to sleep so that you could take the sword and give it to Maggie? Because that sucks.
Yeah, that's a little sketch.
The sleeping was cute, almost worth it. I think when the whole like we didn't trade fell for Laird because that would have undermined your victory, and we can't use fell, and we don't want it to get worse with the victory. I was like, yeah, maybe I guess. And then then Laird gets out like 300 words later, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, well, this kind of sucks.
We could have at least like given Fell some peace, hopefully. I don't know where Fell's going when he dies, but like, god damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we learn more about Blake and Rose's horrible family, that like one of the cousins went to college, seems like Callan and or Kathy, and she somehow made a dorm uninhabitable in the middle of the semester and fucked over a bunch of people. By she, I mean their mom. And
yeah, I'm like, what the fuck did she do? And this is without practice.
Yeah. It makes me wonder when, because I think for a while the family, like Rose didn't say it would be a daughter for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if in Rose's timeline she said it a lot earlier. And that's why this was a thing against Kathy in that timeline, but against Callan and Blake's. And I also wonder, like, I mean, I still feel really, really awful for Blake and his family and how shitty and bad they are. But it really struck me in this how Rose was a contender.
Mm-hmm.
And so while she could have, run away to the streets or whatever, like Blake did, she was like, that's the way she could have gotten out of the situation. Like, she was a target from all of the rest of the family in the same way that all the other women were.
Yeah.
And so, because I was like, wow, the orange juice concentrate, and like that's so weird, but like it's like, oh, like she was targeted.
Yeah.
Whereas Blake was like ignored, sometimes kind of involved, just kind of like bleh.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting that Rose says then Peter made his play. Because I'm like, Peter and Paige go in at the same time and they come out and Paige is like, you lied. And Peter's like, I wasn't lying, blah, blah, blah. And I still want to know what happened there. I still want to know, like, was Peter lying? Was Paige lying? Were they both lying? Because, like, in Blake's world, Grandma Rose had already decided to, like, make Rose and to do this. Like, Paige is on the bottom of the list. And I don't think, that she changed her mind in that moment. I don't think Peter really did much of anything to change her mind, except maybe put her on the bottom as opposed to just birth order for some reason. But because in Rose's timeline, it seems like they thought Paige was going to get it, but then Rose did. And that's just, I don't know, fascinating. And we skipped Molly.
Pretty weird.
So is Molly still alive in Rose's universe? I mean, I guess there wasn't a universe, it's just fabricated memories, but like, did Molly exist?
Did Molly exist?
I don't know. Yeah. But we learn more about what Maggie's up to and that, or no, we don't. We learn that later. Rose is sort of like the hyena's not helping. And he hasn't been helping since we caught Laird. And part of it is like, I think he wants to not be with these people anymore. But I was also wondering if he was just like extra mad because like Evan was controlling him and he just hated that. Like he was like willing to do it the first time and then he was like, no, fuck this. I hated it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was given to Maggie. I don't know. And then we learn about Rose's doings, and Rose has summoned some more things, including Corvidae, and she has set the astrologer and the sisters against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this seemed actually like not that bad. Like their big strong elemental is now living in one of the astrologer's things, and that sucks. But pettyish infighting over this seems kind of useful, especially since Blake's side is like completely broken down.
Mm-hmm.
And like this wasn't, I mean, it's a thing that's really important to them and it's a thing that's really important to the astrologer, but it's not, I don't know, like this wasn't, and your whole family is like turned against you and blah, 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 blah. It was just sort of like, I don't know, these people need to deal with this thing now.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't figure out that Blake/Rose did it and hate them for it, but it does seem like the elemental could have just sort of ended up in the thing.
Yeah.
But then yeah, and then Evan wakes up and they're like, let's go, and Evan's like, you're better, and Blake's like, yeah, thanks to my friends, and Rose is offended and he's like, Rose, you're one of my friends, fuck you. And then she's super bewildered, but also like I didn't necessarily think she was included, and so like it's nice that like I get why Rose was like, excuse you, I helped, but then it's also nice that Blake was like, no, you're one of the friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just seems to push everyone away, possibly because she knows she's supposed to replace Blake, and it's upsetting.
Yeah. She's not.
Yeah, the longer the story goes, the more this is giving me like evil twin vibes. Reluctant evil twin vibes. It's just a bummer.
That is a bummer. All right, I'm going to move on to the next part. So,
Woohoo.
they basically decide to go meet up with Maggie, who's guarding Laird's location. And Blake kind of thinks about Rose's behavior and her intentions.
Yeah, so city magic, sort of.
Yeah.
City magic's always so fun. It sucks that it's like Conquest is stronger. He's doing all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
And they're like arguing about, Rose and the summonings and all that shit. And he's like, what if you summon another midge? And Rose is like, that was my first one, and I was just a mistake, and I'm never going to do it again. And I'm like, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. Like, you can't just be like, I'm done with mistakes.
Yeah, I didn't like it, so they're not going to happen anymore.
Right, like now I've learned everything there is to know about this, and I'm perfect. Like, no, Rose, like
that's
why'd you summon fucking Corvidae? Like, it's just evil.
Well, it's better than a demon, I guess.
Yeah. That's not saying a lot,
No.
But yeah.
Well, they end up finding Maggie with the hyena, which Blake and Evan are pretty upset about. And then they go upstairs and find Laird, who has his implement, and he ends up escaping.
Maggie. Yeah, this wasn't, this felt bad because Blake, doesn't trust her and has been like trying to prevent her from getting it because she's not telling him shit. To be fair, he's not asking shit, but it's just, it's not great. And then they should have asked Evan, and they know that they should have asked Evan, and that's shitty.
Yeah.
Also, Corvidae's way of dealing with a wraith is like whispering in its ear and sending it off, and that was fucking horrifying and should not be happening.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we're ever gonna find out what happened with that, but oh my god.
Yeah, like holy shit. That's that can't be good, right?
And then it's like boom, Laird, and boom, there's wraiths. And they beat the what's it called? The Glasgow Smile person, and then the wraiths, and they give Laird the implement, and it looks like Pose is going to attack Blake, but then he gets back in the book. And I'm kind of like, so did Pose knew he was going to get back in the book, or like what happened?
I think that was like part of the binding thingy that Rose and Blake set up.
Right. So
it just
because I think he was going along with whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Poos would just be like, okay, I'm gonna work buddy with you. You know, I think he would have attacked Blake if he could have.
Sure. So then Laird makes his watch turn everyone's brain off, and Blake runs,
which is a bummer.
Or he runs away, and Blake's like, "This is almost a win," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Like, you were being weirdly optimistic.
Like, I guess you have to say that for the spirits or whatever, but oh my god.
All right, so then they go into the street and they basically have a conflict with some ghouls.
Yeah, this was random. Here's another section where I'm like, I don't know what the theme is. Is it like death? Is it like there's
Are we gonna start trying to
others?
figure out themes? Because
Yes.
we're like way too far into this podcast to like start, you know, trying to be insightful about themes.
Well, it's just like it feels like, you know, Wildbow had talked about like, oh, there's scary others on the streets, and so we want to feel, oh, there's scary others on the streets. Like it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, we had the like good comedy about the whole egging ghouls and about the whole like period blood thing.
Yeah, that was like straight up funny.
that was incredible. It made me think about how like if this was the kind of tears again, they would be like, hi, are you cool? It seems like you're eating someone. Let's not do that. Like,
did you say, are they cool?
I hate myself. Because I mean, I guess like having a limb suggests that they're dangerous and eating humans, but maybe they dug out a body, and that's, you know, not as bad. And I mean, at the end, he's kind of like, "Hey, promise to never hurt anyone ever again, or come be my bro, or whatever." And he's like, "No, I'm leaving." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably the best choice." But yeah, it was just an interesting, like, sort of funny section of like, here's a little fight.
Yeah, the period blood part was pretty funny.
It was so good.
Like, he was like, yeah, my mom told me, kind of compared it to like chickens laying eggs, and now I can't eat eggs. And I was like, all right, I'm never going to use that analogy with my kids.
And then she, and then like when, you know, he gives the necromancer like the 3 options or whatever, and then he's walking away, and Evan's like, the 4th option was worse. Like, you should be thankful. Like what they were going to try to do. I was like, oh my god. It was really funny.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, so Blake ends up seeing Duncan Behame's fiance stuck in the snow, and they end up helping her out with pushing her car out. She's really grateful and invites him up for cocoa. The ward in the house is tripped, and Duncan shows up.
Woohoo! This felt like another weird karma thing. Like, why is she in her car? Like, why is she just moving her car now? Like, if she's moving her car into the garage, like, why didn't you do this 3 days ago?
Poor planning.
Like,
because this is character development, because she's lazy. What does that say about Duncan Behame? His fiance is that lazy. She's like, I'll just do it later.
And then she's like, I'll just sit here until some strangers walk by and move it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it seems like kind of like Blake karma that like this is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's also that like, yeah, Maggie, Blake, and the Talaman help, but I'm pretty sure the Talaman didn't go inside with them, and she wasn't like, why doesn't your third friend come get some cocoa? But
yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah,
but sorry, Talaman.
I know. Although maybe it's good if he doesn't melt with the hot cocoa. Yeah. I think it's really nice that she invited them in. I mean, I guess like, you know, they helped her with her car and stuff, but there's scary people around.
That's like really fucking trusting, especially with how shady everyone says Blake looks all the time. Like, he looks like straight up just like
horrifying,
like crazy man.
Yeah, she seems like a really sweet person.
She does.
She's like, yeah, my fiance's obsessed with clocks, but everybody's got their something. And I'm like, that's so cute.
Her one vice is that she's lazy enough to have waited to take the car in for 3 days, but everything else seems very sweet.
Yeah. I'm wondering why they didn't take her up on the food and or cocoa, because it made me think of Snowdrop Tiny Fans cocoa that I still haven't tried, and I was like, I want cocoa.
I
Because she
want to
said
try that.
malted cocoa. I was like, oh, this woman's doing something exciting.
That sounds
Um,
amazing.
I know. And like, is this because you're trying to find the fine balance between like being a guest and like being able to fight people in their house? Like, why don't you take the cocoa? I would have 12,000% taken the cocoa. Because isn't it weird to be like, we'll come inside and warm up and then just sort of stand here? Like, I mean, I guess they're warming up, but like, I don't know.
It's true.
Um,
Dude, I used to work at Peggy Sue's, which Malia will know. It's a 50s diner on Maui. And you always started as a dishwasher, and then if you worked there long enough, you kind of worked your way up to either a waitress if you're a woman or a cook if you're a guy. And yes, that's kind of sexist. I guess the only uniforms they had were these dresses. So maybe they were just like, it's not going to work out for a guy to be wearing a 50s diner dress. Whatever. No one ever complained about it.
You saw the cooks. They were standing behind the counter.
Yeah, the cooks are like right there. But the cooks did not have 50s diner dresses on. But they had like malts and milkshakes and stuff like that. And one of the things, like, my friend Kiara, she always would get like at least like on her breaks and stuff like that, because we could have like free food from there sometimes if it's like a little bit. So she would get like a scoop of vanilla ice cream and put hot fudge over it, and she'd like sprinkle malted milk powder all over it.
Wow.
And it was so freaking good. It was like, you know, like a Whopper or a Malteser, depending on where you are in the world. And freaking delicious. I've never thought about doing that with hot chocolate before. But that sounds delightful.
Indeed. See, this woman is perfect. She just likes Dunkin' and is
right.
lazy.
Yeah. Those are her two vices, but you know, everyone's got them.
Yeah. I also didn't get the thing about perception until Blake spelled it out, and I'm still having kind of a trouble understanding it, but we can talk about it when he officially figures it out.
Yeah, we can figure it out together.
Yeah. But yeah, Duncan gets there and it's all like standoff, and there's the gun, and then they kick the gun, and then we're standing around, and then I just feel bad for Joanna because she obviously does not know. She seems obviously an innocent. Like, she doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah. Well, kind of. So yeah, Laird's called for backup. Blake correctly infers that they control the perception of time instead of time itself. He's able to get one over on Duncan. And he makes a note that Maggie seems off again. You could say. Yeah.
But yeah, so he like goes in the kitchen, he palms an egg timer, and Blake fucks things up.
He fucks shit up.
It's like Blake seeing him grab the egg timer made the perception trick not work or something. But then like later he has to close his eyes to not look at the clock or whatever in order to not get perceptionified.
Yeah.
I really don't understand the whole police station thing. Like, what was real, what was not real, what did he actually experience? Like, I think it was like the mourning happened, and then Blake thought that time had gone back in time and was waiting for them. But the fucking guy showed up. I don't know. I don't get it.
Look, Malia, I'm going to be honest with you. If I acted like I understood this better than you do, I would be straight up lying. It's kind of, when I read it for the first time, I realized it was over my head and I just accepted it. And the second time I read it, same thing. I was like, I frankly don't have the time to decipher this because I've got children that are just hot messes, you know, really cute hot messes. That's where all my brain energy has to go to that and my job. And I have to just accept I ain't gonna get this. I'm not gonna get this right now. So I am almost 100% positive we will have someone comment and tell us exactly where we're wrong, or where we're and this is not saying this in a bad way. It's very useful having people, you know, comment and be like, hey, you guys missed this part. It's just gonna happen, and I probably should be ashamed to say, but I'm just not, that that's just what we're gonna have to depend on.
That's what's happening. Yeah. It's just because I get that, like, in the so it's the turning back time that I don't fucking get. but the like I think what happens is that Laird like flashes his golden watch or whatever, and then everyone else just like zones out and is like,
Yeah.
and then Laird like walks around really slow and chill, like he's like Quicksilver in like the X-Men movies or whatever, and then just like
Yeah.
leaves, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that he's moving really fast. It's just that everyone is like fucking zonked.
Yeah. Like
And
X,
it's
like
probably
the Flash.
right. It's probably bad form or something to just slit everyone's throats when you do that.
That's probably kind of bad karma.
Or something. There's probably some reason why he doesn't do that. But yeah, so this whole thing where it was like, Blake closes his eyes and finds the gun before, like those sorts of things I kind of get. I kind of get the diner. I just don't fucking understand the police station at all.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
don't
fine.
understand that. I'm not gonna lie though, it probably would actually be good karma to slit Blake's throat.
Interesting.
Don't you think? Because he's a diabolist. So there might be some other reason he can't do it. Like maybe like
well, he
if
wants
there's
Blake
innocence
alive
around.
a little bit longer, is what he said at the police station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What I
Yeah.
mean by the police station that I don't get, I really don't get the whole Duncan thing. I kind of sort of not totally entirely get the whole police station round 2 thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a time in the past in this podcast where I would have like really tried to act like I knew what the fuck was happening. And just like tried to act mysterious to you. But yeah, no, we're on the same page. I know that there's an explanation. I know there's a way to understand this that I'm sure someone will explain it. But again, as I've said, I have not devoted the brain power needed to understand it. I just am like, this is interesting. It's a good story. It's still a good story, even if I don't know what the fuck's happening. And we're going to let it roll,
Right. Not understanding the mechanic is not really a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's possible to understand it as he was explaining it. But it would involve me probably reading it over and over quite a few times and like maybe writing something out to like get it in my brain better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, Yeah, I mean, just good on you, good on Blake, like he lost a bunch of blood and he like has been through a bunch of shit. Like he is probably like a straight up genius in some ways.
Super
that
smart, yeah.
He's probably super smart, at least in some ways. And if he wasn't continually, trying to fight for his life and like being starving and losing his blood and his power and stuff, he'd probably like be straight up successful doing something, He'd probably just, straight up like, invent some like mathematic theories, that like change the way we see the world. But instead, fucking Granny is a diabolist, just fucked all that shit up for him. So thanks.
Yeah.
It's
a bummer.
But that also wouldn't be a very interesting story. Like, there was this guy who had kind of a shitty family that he didn't talk to, but he was really smart and his life was fine. The end.
He had to go to therapy and stuff, but it turned out okay.
Yeah, he had to go to therapy, but he was totally fine. He was fine. Everything's fine. And his cousins were all fucked up and no one, or who knows, actually maybe if Granny wasn't a diabolist, they might all have been fine.
Fine.
They might have been okay. Might have been like a normal dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot better than a diabolist dysfunctional family.
But speaking of Blake thinking things that I don't understand, Blake's like, I'm gonna get away in one piece. like at this moment, he's like, this is great. Laird's here. The dolls are here. The Bahame children are here. Conquest is on his way. Perfect.
Like, this is ideal. This is great.
And then by the end of the chapter, it's like, oh no, Conquest is here. I'm fucked. I'm like, I don't understand what changed. I don't understand.
Well, to echo something you put in your notes, I guess it's about perception.
I guess. But yeah, and then there's Maggie and like, she's possessed, ? We don't know. We move on very quickly. I mean, it would explain her whole like spirit self being a little bit more like wild. I don't know if this happened during the whole her town being destroyed or if she's like made other deals or whatever since then. Maybe this is part of why she can't swear.
Okay.
That like like all these like persnickety bitches like Isadora and Rose who
Mhm.
are like, it would be, what's the word? Uncouth. It would be undignified, ignoble, right? There's
Yeah.
a bunch of bitches who are like, it would be ignoble. And so maybe this one something is like Faye like or something is like, yeah, Maggie, I will possess you and help you do certain things, but you can't swear anymore because I don't like it.
Okay, but
That's
the
my new
question I
fun
have is that,
theory.
like, she hasn't been able to swear for, like, as long as Blake's known her, right? So, like, why
Uh-huh.
would she look different now?
I don't think she looks different.
Well, not look different, but, like, why would Blake think that she's acting different?
I think
Because, like,
Blake just
he was
didn't
saying he used
understand
to
who she
trust
was
her.
fully, which didn't make sense because she murdered his cousin.
But if you can remember, he was saying, like, she's acting different now.
Sure.
There's something about her now that's different.
Sure.
And,
I
like,
mean, I guess so. If it's not that, maybe it has something to do with how she got to Toronto. That she had to make a deal with something to get out of Jacobsville and get to Toronto real fast.
Okay. So what are you saying? She made a deal with, or are you going to save that till the end?
Oh, I don't know, like a fairy thing.
Okay. So you think
Pixie.
So you think she's possessed by a fairy or a pixie?
Blake thinks she's possessed by a something.
Okay.
I guess spirits possess people, so it'd be like a spirit of moving fast.
A spirit of moving fast. Okay.
Yep, that's what I got.
Okay. So either a fairy or a spirit of moving fast.
Yeah, I don't know if fairies can possess people.
Okay.
So we're leaning more toward the spirit of...
More towards the spirit of something. Okay. Spirit of Speedy McSpeederson.
Yeah. Or, I don't know.
All right.
But I bet that this is going to be something that Blake doesn't ask anyone about for at least 3 arcs because he doesn't want to be like Rose.
Besides kind of bringing it up like to Maggie and then being like, sorry, I shouldn't have asked that.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, Rose ends up stopping Corvidae from messing with Duncan's fiance, like just barely, basically.
Does she? Wait, does she?
I think so. I think it said like she went up and he hadn't done anything quite yet.
I think it just said she went up.
I don't think so. Let me take a look.
You keep reading and I'll...
Okay. Well, Blake tries to negotiate with Laird, and then he sees Conquest outside, who has defeated Rose's minions. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, my last note was like, I hope that Corvidae was one of those minions.
I'm positive, so...
Okay, yeah, so she's like, you're positive? What did it say?
I'm finding it.
Yeah, it says, we should wrap this up. Where's Corvidae? I told him to stop Duncan. Did you tell him how? No. I thought for a second. Go upstairs now. Stop him. And then she goes upstairs. I'm under the impression that Rose is upstairs with Duncan Behame's wife to be and a particular other.
Okay.
Had Rose's others listen to me. When you said what?
All right. Well, that's all I'll say about that then. So...
I mean, I hope she stopped him, but also, like, what the fuck? How do you just say stop Duncan when you know he has a goddamn, like, almost wife not here, and you're just like, lol, bye. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I'm so mad at her. It's so dumb. I hate it so much. Stop Duncan. Oh my god. Stop Duncan from what? Oh my god.
Did you tell him how? I know. That's pretty dumb. It's pretty stupid.
I'm so mad.
Like Rose, like it's like you're trying to do, like, you're not stupid, Rose. Like, you're trying to do this shit on purpose now.
Ugh.
Like, stop trying to be evil.
I'd rather her be a dumbass.
Yeah, because at least she was a dumbass and be an accident.
Right. No, I mean, it felt like maybe she didn't. I don't know. I hate it.
I mean,
I hate it.
She had to have known, right? Like, let's be real. She's smart.
I don't know. I hate it. But yeah, the whole family is power thing was really interesting. I mean, I still think that Laird shouldn't, like, you know, put children in the line of fire like this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this feels very true about the Otherverse, that, like, you know, for most practitioners, their power comes from their family, and having, like, a strong family with, like, lots of good ties and lots of good whatever the fucks, and like a power source, power base, whatever, like, helps.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the fact that Rose was a diabolist that fucked up her family, it seems. Like, the karma really, really messed with them. And being involved in demonic rituals probably also messed with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't understand. Last thing. I don't understand what Blake's plan was. I don't understand. I don't get it.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see the next couple chapters we read. Maybe it'll all come back around. Maybe. All right. So now we come to our pale in comparison section. And I guess one thing we could mention is we've seen ghouls, obviously. So we can kind of talk about the ghouls we know and compare them to like the ones that we saw. Another thing could be comparing like the Tallow Man to one of, I don't know, to some of our characters in Pale. What do you think you want to talk about?
Okay, I don't remember exactly what the one boogeyman in the wheelchair or whatever is like in Pale. But I feel like Tallow Man. No. The one who shows up with Milkmaid to help out with the market. Is it Cage Rattler? No, I thought Cage Rattler was the dad and the son.
Yeah, that's what that was. I'm blanking on the wheelchair one, to be honest.
He's down in Kennet Below, and he like does stuff with the.
Oh, that does sound familiar, actually. Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to be a better person or whatever. Like he's trying to not eat people or kill people or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to say the Tallow Man is like at least as sympathetic as that guy.
Okay, like, yeah, I can see that.
We haven't seen the Tallow Man hurt anyone. I mean, like his whole story is about like murdering all his family members and stuff. But like we give people second chances if they repent.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, Tallow Man has helped protect people or something, and given parts of his body to help Blake, and tried to make candles when people were afraid of the dark, and
which is very sweet.
Helped push a lazy woman's car into her garage. So I think the Tallow Man would be a really great addition to Pale. I think it would be one of those ones like the ghouls or like, you know, just lots of people where it would be like, oh fuck, that sounds like a bad idea, and then it'd be like, that fucking guy.
Like, this is
what
wholesome.
What a solid choice. What a mensch.
Yep. And he can help with healing.
Yeah, they need that.
Right?
Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
Next crossover, maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting as a burgeoning Pact reader. I'm bummed that there don't seem to be, like, it'd be fun if Tallow Man or whatever the fuck, like, showed up in Pale. And, like, he, you know, I appreciate that there's not Pact spoilers in Pale or whatever. And we do get Eloise, and we do have Musser taking over Toronto. But I don't know. It'd be fun if there was a little like hope.
Yeah.
Hope might be kind of too big of a word. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it is nice. You get a little bit of taste here and there, but I mean, that's the whole point as well, like being able to read one without having spoilers for the other. So
right. It makes me wonder what the next one will be like. If it'll be like the same sort of a thing where we're totally disconnected, or if it'll be more of a like a Pale sequel, or like a bringing things together or whatever.
Yeah, I know, that'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll have to, I think the jury's still out on what he's going to call it, right?
I think so. That last that I heard were, unclear. Yeah.
I'm like, geez, Wildbow, can't you tell us earlier so that we can come up with our podcast names?
It's so important.
I know. As I really had a good one for if it was Plex, but that's all right.
Maybe I'm gonna still do something.
I'm gonna not mention it just in case he actually does Plex, but you know.
Yes.
Probably won't though. All right. Anyway, anything else to say, or should we move on to the bold and specific prediction?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So if you're building a bridge, you need to reevaluate your life. Or what was the...
If you're building a bridge...
One of the bridge things had to do with bad romance.
Yeah. Bad romance.
Yeah. So, Blake... Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's Blake and Tiffany, and then there's Blake and Alexis. It seems like, Blake is in love with Alexis. But he also, like, doesn't know Tiffany that well. And, like, she seems really sweet and kind of, like, whatever. But a lot of her awakening ritual things were like, there's more than meets the eye. So maybe it's like Blake and Tiffany won't work as a couple. But it feels to me more like Blake and Alexis are like maybe gonna have some sort of like, hey, conversation where people have to be like, this isn't happening.
Like, this is awkward.
Yeah. I guess like I'm leaning toward I don't think Blake is going to end up with either Tiffany or Alexis ultimately.
Are you saying that this isn't a secret romance story?
Yeah. I mean, we got to get Mom on this podcast and maybe it'll turn into one.
Gotta get what?
Mom on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well,
the fact that she almost made Louise and Matthew happen is my favorite thing.
that's the best thing ever. I think it's still gonna happen.
I really
And that's like gonna be like the best prediction ever. Be like, man, Mom, you made it happen. I mean, yeah, that's the best thing. And I remember when she said that at the time, I was like, whatever, Mom, that's
like, that's
really dumb.
Thing
Yeah, like that's so stupid. And now it's like, holy crap, they're like living together and they've like touched hands and like, you know, yeah, it's just like,
he vouched for Louise in the thing.
I know. Like, holy crap, it's gonna happen.
So good.
And yeah, it's gonna happen. Except right now, Mom's on like the Matthew's bad again train.
Yeah,
so
she'll come around.
she'll come around.
It's
Of
fine.
course she will.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, but yeah, that was an impressive prediction. Let's see, any other predictions? Like, I don't know, Maggie again. We kind of talked about that. Or Conquest or anything.
Part of me wants to say it feels like we're gonna wrap up with Conquest this arc, but also I think that's probably a dumb prediction, but we're gonna go with it.
Okay.
Meg. Here's a prediction that I'm not sure that I believe and I don't want it to be true, but I guess like Rose will be the final boss of this story.
Okay.
Rose will be the final antagonist.
Rose gonna be the final antagonist of the story.
Yeah.
All right, that is a bold and specific prediction. I like it.
Yep, that's how it's feeling.
All right. Our previous discussion question was us being lazy like Duncan's fiance. And we said to tell us a joke. Tell us a joke, peons. But to be fair, I did tell 2 jokes, so it's kind of a trade. So there were a lot of discussion on our Discord. And so we're just gonna pick a few of them because there were kind of a lot. Let me see.
But first, shout out to Beleg Tall, who correctly identified that the game I was talking about last week was Cribbage with Grandpas. So if you want to learn how to play Cribbage with a nice grandpa, you should check it out.
Awesome. Good job, Beleg Tall. Let's see. I just lost my thing. Speaking of Beleg Tall, they, I don't know. They put a good math joke. So it said 3 statisticians go out hunting together. After a while, they spot a solitary rabbit. The first statistician takes aim and overshoots. The second aims and undershoots. The third shouts out, "We got him!"
I like that one.
I like that too.
Elliot put a couple that are very much in the theme of my, like, a lizard or whatever joke last week. So, what's brown and sticky? A stick. What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? Where's my tractor? And then, what did Batman say to Robin before they got in the Batmobile? Robin, get in the Batmobile. It's just so good.
That is pretty much like a lizard. Yeah, that's pretty much. Mirth Strike. This one's trying to decide if it's too long to read. It had 7 LOLs, so I gotta read it. An infinite number of mathematicians walk into a bar. I'll have a beer, says the first. I'll have half of what he's having, says the second, pointing to the first. I'll have half of what he's having, says the third, pointing to the second. I'll have, begins the fourth, before being interrupted by the bartender slamming down 2 beers. You guys have got to stop doing this. I like that one.
That's really good. And then I saw an egg joke. This was just, So Clawford put, as one of the egg jokes, there are 2 eggs sunny side up in a pan. And the first egg says, "Is it just me, or is it getting hot?" And the second egg goes, "Ah, a talking egg!" It's so dumb.
That's so dumb. I love it.
Yep.
Ah, man. This one's really long, but I want to read it.
Go for it.
Okay. This was by $24 barbecue water, which what a weird username. Not throwing shade because I kind of like it, but I'm like, what does that come from?
What does that mean? Yeah.
What does it mean? Did you have to pay $24 for water at a barbecue place? Or was like your $24 barbecue, like, did they have bad water or good water? I don't know. I don't understand. Okay, this is long. A child is walking down the highway and finds an old discarded welder's mask. Fascinated with the thing, he puts it on. A few miles later, he decides to hitchhike home and gets picked up by a serial killer. The serial killer's eyes keep shifting over to the child. Hey kid, he asks, do you know what thumb screws are? No. A few more minutes pass. The serial killer speaks up again. Do you know what an Iron Maiden is? The boy shifts nervously in his seat. No, I don't. The serial killer nods and keeps driving. He's on the edge of the seat. Finally, he can't take the suspense no longer. Well then, do you know what a brazen bolt is? The young boy sighs and looks over at the serial killer. I have to be honest with you. I'm not actually a welder. I like it.
Dear. Yeah. Solid.
Okay. Maybe a couple more. I don't know. But like Tall asks, how do non-binary samurais kill people? They slash them. I know.
And then maybe this one can be the last one. I like this one a lot. So Mirthstrike goes, Doctor, you've got to help me. I've come down with a massive case of hypochondria. Okay, calm down. How are you so sure that that's what happened? Because, Doc, it's as clear as day. I've got all the symptoms. Or I've got all the symptoms.
All the symptoms.
All the symptoms.
I like it.
Bad. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all your jokes, and including those that we didn't read.
Yes.
A lot of funny ones.
We enjoyed them a lot. They made us
We
chuckle.
did. All right. Our new discussion for this coming week. What sort of collection would be a deal breaker in a potential partner?
So, like, clocks are maybe okay, but what else?
What else? I collect buttons, like the kind of buttons,
like the pin buttons,
like the flare, like in the movie Waiting, where they have to wear like the flare on their vests, and it's really obnoxious. I don't ever put them on anything, but I have a fuckload of them, like a really, really big jar. Yeah, that's my collection.
Yeah. I feel like I've tried to start a bunch of collections that aren't like that impressive, like shot glasses, and I have a bunch of mugs. I used to collect bandanas.
You did. You had a lot.
I had a lot. I wanted like every color, and then it was like, I think I still have most of them somewhere, but it was like, well, I don't wear these.
I'd almost say you collected hats too for a little bit, but it didn't get like that big because it's kind of hard to keep a lot of hats. I feel
like I get these little notions where like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start, like I did this with like rimmed caps and shot glasses and different things where it was like, I'm gonna buy one from every place I go, and then I just like sort of stopped.
It's like you kind of run out of space.
Yeah. Storage is hard. Like, yeah. If I have a house, maybe someday. But
yeah. But even when you have a house, you're gonna be like, this still isn't big enough for my shit.
Yeah, probably not.
All right.
Does Vitalis have any collections?
He's inherited. I mean, I say inherited, but like his parents kind of gave him like a coin collection that they had been starting, and we've kind of been adding to it. And then they also have some cash. So some of it's like I don't remember what it was called, but like the old Lithuanian money before euros. And he has like a bunch. I think like I don't even know. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but he's got a bunch of coins basically from different places, and then some dollars. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Ben has I don't know if this is a collection. Ben has 2 Halo Nerf guns that he wants to mount on our wall.
Okay.
And it hasn't happened yet, but
are they like collectible items or something? Or?
I don't know. They look like the Halo guns.
Okay.
One of them you have to like pump sort of to like switch the chamber and like shoot. I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah,
that's cool.
I feel like a spin on or a twist on this collection or on this question would be like, what is a collection you have and what do you think it says about you?
That's true. That's a good question. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's ask about what collection you have. What kind of
Okay.
collection do you guys have? And what does it say about you?
Do you
I
think
like
it's a deal breaker with anyone else?
Sure. All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. If you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/Wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 7.6 and 7.7, I think.
And again, just to remind everyone again, Pale Complexions fan art contest, theme of takeover. Entries are due April 1st. You can check out more information on doofmedia.com.
Woo!
All right.
The 7.6 and 7.7, I was like, I think, because I wanted you to confirm or deny.
That's no fun. Okay, yeah, no, that should be right. 7.6 and 7.7.
Cool.
That should be fine. All right. This is kind of a weird fun fact, but this is, I don't know. They're all kind of weird. There was a study done, I guess, by Israeli and Australian researchers that has shown that Viagra is reported to prevent flowers from wilting for a week beyond their prime. So I guess if you have to keep flowers alive or looking nice for a while and you've got some spare Viagra, go ahead and use
Crush
that.
it up and put it in there.
That's right. Also, just random Viagra facts. Actually was originally made for hypertension, so high blood pressure, and for chest pain. The current most common usage was actually a side effect, and they decided, hey, we're going to use that. But you'll find that it actually is currently also prescribed for pulmonary hypertension. So you'll find that there are some women that do have to take Viagra for that. Yeah.
Do they have to worry about if they're giving it to you for like erectile dysfunction?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to be like, how is your heart or whatever to make sure that you're not gonna?
They do. I mean, there's a lot of medications that, and that's why it's important to go to a doctor and make sure that you get prescriptions from them, because they have your full medical history and they're going to look at the side effects of the drugs. Because I feel like there's a lot more people in general that have higher blood pressure than lower blood pressure, but there are some people who have lower blood pressure. And if you do have cardiac problems, Viagra may not be a good choice. But it also might work just fine. It kind of just depends on your medical history and what your doctor says. So don't be taking stuff that your cousin has because they have extra. It's not a good idea.
No.
That's a weird, that would be kind of weird anyway. Like, hey, like, cousin Joe, can I steal some Viagra from you? I don't know. Don't borrow Viagra from your family and friends.
Viagra.
Yeah. Get it from your doctor. There you go. All right. Bye.